In the next section of ductland editing, we're going to show you how to use the specification by geometry option inside PractiCAD. Specification by geometry is an option we have underneath your library icon in your PractiCAD ribbon or Express toolbar. Underneath your ductwork options, you can see under ductline editing we have an option called specification by geometry. Currently, it is unchecked. The recommended settings for PractiCAD, though, are that it should be checked at all times. However, in this tutorial, to explain what it does when it's unchecked, we're going to leave it like this for now. We're going to exit out of my library and take a look at the fitting we have on the drawing. Notice that this fitting is in the 2-inch water gauge specification, and for this tutorial, that specification calls specifically for TDF connections on the in and out. The way specifications work inside PractiCAD is once you give a specification and assign it to a piece of duct, that specification is active 100% of the time, which means that when you go to edit the duct, PractiCAD will reapply the specification. What specification by geometry means is that when it is unchecked, any change to any type of property will force PractiCAD to reapply the specification, meaning we have geometry type, technology type, and identification type parameters in the software. If that button is unchecked and we make any sort of change, each time we make a change, PractiCAD will reapply the specifications. For example, let's go and take the connector in and switch it to slip and drive. Then let's take the connector out and switch it to slip and drive. Currently, we've now changed the fitting so it's slip and drive, even though the specification calls for TDF parameters. Now let's exit off by letting go of the fitting and reselect it later. Now we're going to come over to the technology properties and we're going to switch acoustic liner and change it to 1-inch acoustic. Notice the second we do that, PractiCAD has reapplied the 2-inch water gauge spec, so therefore we now have the TDF connections that our specification table called for. Most contractors, if they go to add liner or change an accessory or a technology parameter, don't want PractiCAD to reapply the specifications. So what we do is we go back into the library icon and go to the ductwork section. Here we are now going to check the specification by geometry parameter. Once again, this is the recommended setting. We're going to hit the save key and then exit out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the fitting and we're going to undo what we just did. We're going to take away the liner and then we're going to switch the connections back to slip and drive and slip and drive. Now, even though the specification is calling for TDF, I could let go of the property box, reselect the fitting, and now if I make a technology parameter change or an identification parameter change, PractiCAD will not adjust these connectors. For example, we're going to come into acoustic lining and we're going to choose 1-inch acoustic lining. Notice that the locks or connections did not change because we only changed a technology parameter, not a geometry parameter. However, if we come in here and now change the depth of the fitting from 20 to 22 and we hit enter, you can see we've now changed the geometry parameter. So PractiCAD has reapplied the specification table that was assigned to this duct. This is a very important option to make sure that you don't make one change to your fitting and then when you go to make another change to your fitting, it undoes the fitting change you just made. So this is an option we recommend keeping checked. However, it is always a matter of draftsman preference.